Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Game Changer. I am Maryam Zia. In today's program, we will be talking about the latest developments that have the concerns of the world as well, and the world is looking towards the latest developments concerning Israel and Palestine. Of course, we know that on Saturday, Hamas launched the deadliest attack till date on Israel, and in retaliation, of course, Israel also counter-launched attacks, killing hundreds of Palestinian citizens in this. And of course, we will be talking about the latest developments surrounding this issue and what needs to be done when we talk about the humanitarian side of this issue. And of course, we will be talking about the historical aspects, how the Western world is responding to this, and what is the response of multinational organizations as well as multilateral organizations. When we talk about the response of United Nations Security Council, we know that there has not been a consensus on a statement regarding this. This also exposes the double standards of West as well. We will be talking about that as well, and what needs to be done when we talk about taking this towards a solution that is in line with aspirations of Palestinian people. To discuss this and more, we are joined in the studios by Brigadier Hamid Malik. Welcome to the program.
Thank you,
and we are joined online by Dr. Javed. Welcome to the program. Brigadier Malik, this is an important development, but of course we have seen that in the last 50 years or so, this is the deadliest attack that Hamas has launched on Israel. And of course, in retaliation, Israel also launched an attack. But this is something that has seed in the history. And this is not something that blew overnight. Yeah. It has seeds in the history, but recent developments has the world in shock. Because this is the deadliest attack, and the Gaza Strip is 2 million population lives in that strip. But of course, Israel is not letting hospitals or ambulances or even food to reach to the people residing over there. How do you see these recent developments, and can you provide us an overview of the developments that have taken place since Saturday?
I think this is a point of concern for all human rights activists, and you have very properly highlighted that the casualties being suffered on both sides. It is a point of concern for the world which loves peace, which loves stability. And I would like to also highlight that the recent fighting and the retaliation by the Hamas has a chronological order which we need to understand in history. As you said that it is about 50 years, but I will take it to 100 years more.
Yes.
The Balfour
This is
Declaration.
Another colonial legacy.
Yeah, colonial legacy, and again we can say that the Britishers sowed the seed for this long outstanding
True.
fighting between Israelis or Jews or the Muslims.
True.
And what we see that from 1917, when the British alleged their support to the Jews for establishment of a Jewish state in the so much Muslim area, that was the Palestine, 97% population
yes.
was Muslim. And what we see that from that point till 1947, that the migration of the Jews from mainly from Russia and then from Germany got settled in so-called Israel. And then the population, the demographic profile, which was 97% Muslim, were made that 67% were Muslim and 33% were Jews. And also the point to highlight here is that those 33% of Jews only had 6% of land
yes.
in that area. That means the Palestinians were controlling 94% of land. But what we see that because of the support of the America and the Europe, the Palestinians were marginalized. And now we have two settlements, one is the West Bank and then is the Gaza. Now Hamas is established in Gaza, and they won elections in 2007
yes.
and with the popular support in Gaza. But Israel did not like it, and they went for blockade and siege of the Gaza. And I think this antagonized the Hamas, this antagonized the youth of the Palestinians. And what we see, if we have to understand the retaliation which actually took place yesterday or day before, it has certain reason and logics, because it is the outcome of the deprivations which are being faced by the Palestinians. And let me also highlight here what is the life in Gaza looks like. because we now all know that there should be some future for the generations, and there is no future for the youth. The about 600,000 people are living in 8 camps. It is a small strip between Israel and the sea, and what we see that about 2 million people reside there, the heaviest density of population in such a small place.
True.
And without any food, without any electricity, without any water. And you know that a place in the world where 6 to 8 hours water is provided after 4 days. See the miseries of the people there. Then there is no education, there is no health care. People are left to die, or they have to get permission from the Israelis to move to the hospitals in either Israeli areas or to the West Bank. And I think with such miseries and such human attitude, retaliation was, I think, natural. But on the other hand, what we see that this catastrophic situation between the Israelis and the Palestinian is, I think, a matter of concern for all us.
Of course.
For not only Muslim Ummah, for the Europe also.
Of course, this is a point of concern, and of course, as we keep on talking, that this is something that has seeds in the history. But Dr. Hasnain, coming to you, in your opinion, what were some of the factors that led to this deadliest attack by Hamas, and how do you see this situation unveiling in the coming days? What about the diplomatic efforts to de-escalate this situation?
See, first of all, I just wanted to put up 2 points. It is not about just the Hamas, not about just the Hezbollah. Hezbollah goes to Lebanon or the Iranian-backed Hamas. So this is not the subject, because Iran already says that we are not at the back of Hamas. And it is same as the case with the Hezbollah, that they are saying that they are not at the back of the whole problem coming up in the Israel. The situation is that the whole of the internet, whole of the system is being done that we have been attacked. So Israel has been attacked. So they never seen that how much killing, how much genocide. There are just the kids and the women are there in the Palestine, and nobody is here for the Palestine. The UN resolution is not for the Palestine, and there is a divide in the whole of the world. Now the people are neutralizing the Arab. The timing of the situation is very much important. But we have to go for the history, as the Brigadier Sahib is very much better in the narration, that the more of the 100 years ago, the November 2, 1917, the Britain, then the Foreign Secretary, the author Balfour, wrote a letter addressed to the Leonel Walter Rashid, head of the British Jews community. The letter was short, just 67 words, but its content had a similar effect on the Palestine that still fit to this day, and it committed the British government to establish the Palestine and the national home for the Jewish people, and to facilitate the achievement of this object. And this letter is known as a Balfour Declaration. So that is very much important. The Balfour Declaration is the root cause of the whole of the issue. So there is a divide. So divide, what we need to see is that by the 1947, the Jewish population had ballooned to 33% of the Palestine, but they owned only 6% of the land, as the Brigadier Sahib told. So 94% is belong to the Palestinian people. So Palestine must have to get the resolution. And but what Joe Biden says we are completely with the Israel, and the Britain says we are completely with those, and rest of the people neutralizing the Arab effect. And now Saudi is just back with all of the treaties, all of the bilateral trade agreements, multilateral trade agreement. And let me tell you once again that this will cause the hyper intensive fluctuation and a price hike in the whole of the oil, whole of the other thing, commodity, and that's the start of the new war. So what the Palestine says in the recent time, they have said that no food, water on the power in the Gaza.
Of course, there is a humanitarian crisis going on as well. But let me take the same point to Brigadier Sahib. Brigadier Sahib, of course, we know the situation, and you also highlighted the plight of these civilians that are residing in that particular area. But let's talk about the role of multinational organizations as well as other humanitarian organizations that keep on advocating for the rights of people of Ukraine, and rightly so. But what what about people of Palestine and the civilians in Palestine who have been suffering for more than 50 years now?
I think this is a very important aspect which must we discuss and also highlighted to the other people that why double standards are there. What we see about the UN, that in 1947 they are recognizing Israel as a state, and as per their resolution is 181, they say that there should be partition of the land between the Jews and Arabs, and at the same time they are not recognizing Palestine as a full member state in UN. Why two double standards? Because at one side you are going to give those people some right to live in that land, you need to also understand what are their feelings, what are their sentiments, and when the Arab freedom fighters, they were being flushed out from that place, and what we have seen in the two war in 1947, 1967 also, that the Arabs, they were not supported by the world at all. And at the present time, I think you have very rightly highlighted that the international community is not supporting, and they are not talking about the violence that should be condemned, okay, on both sides, but we have to also understand who is right and who is wrong.
The factors that led to this escalation, that is very important.
That is very important, and we have also a history of atrocities by the Israelis. As you said, that Jerusalem is a holy place not only for Muslims, for Jews and for Christians. And one of the bone of contention in the recent I think fighting is the trespassing of certain rights of Muslims by the Israeli forces in East Jerusalem. They were not allowing Muslims to pray in their prescribed area, and at the same time they were going for the expansion of Zionist complex. No, these are certain factors which have got world guarantees, and international community should have taken notice of that. But there was no notice taken by the international community. There was no limitation and bar being imposed on the Israel on
so
one side.
Of course, this is significant when we talk about the recent escalation of Israel-Palestine conflict. We will be talking more about it, but after a short break. Welcome back. We are talking about the recent escalation of Palestine-Israel conflict, and to talk more about it, we are joined by Deputy Head of Mission, Palestine Embassy, Mr. Nadir Turk. Welcome to the program. Mr. Nadir, let me start with the recent developments. Can you tell us about the situation on ground in Palestine, and what are some of the diplomatic efforts being done, in your opinion, by the international community to de-escalate the situation?
Assalamu alaikum. First of all, you know, this clashes or this battle started 3 days before. The response by Israelis was only the Israelis until now are looking for revenge by create collective punishment for the Palestinian civilian people in Gaza Strip. They keep attacking all the civilians buildings, schools, roads, infrastructures, homes. We have right now about 700 shaheed. Most of them are sadly children and women. More than 4,000 injured people. Most of them again are children and women, which means Israel is actually not attacking our freedom fighters, the Palestinian freedom fighters. They're attacking the innocent civilians people. This is in Gaza. In West Bank, the settlers again and again attacking our civilians people. One of them tried to burn fire in a child. He kidnapped him from the street, putting oil over him, fuel over him, and burn fire in him. He was lucky that one driver found him and directly take him to the hospital. This is how the situation, not only in Gaza and everywhere in Palestine. We are sad that the response of international community until now not good enough by supporting the right cause. Until now they are blindly supporting Israelis. They speak about right of defense for the Israelis and ignoring the right of Palestinians to defend themselves.
So, Mr. Nadir, what is the current level of humanitarian aid and assistance being delivered to these suffering people? Can you tell us about that?
Israelis 2 days before decide to freezing, blocking supply of food, fuel, gas, water, cut electricity on all Gaza Strip, and even they stop the medical equipment supply to Gaza Strip, which means that this injured people will not have any equipment to give a treatment for them. This is because, as I mentioned before, Israel is using collective punishment against the civilians in Gaza. They like to increase the number of shaheed and injured people in Gaza just to look nice in the eyes of the Israeli people, because the fail with Israel face on Saturday, security, intelligence, army, huge fail Israeli side, when the freedom fighters cross the borders, which is one of the most defended and most strongest borders in the world. When the Palestinian freedom fighters getting the opportunity, create the opportunity actually, to cross the borders, attack only Israeli soldiers, about 11 Israeli army camp, about 20 settlements on our occupied territories of Palestine. They only attack only armed people. The Palestinian freedom fighters only attack armed people. They was deal as a human being,
yes,
take care of the life of the children and the women. On the other hand, Israelis are creating and making every time, or every moment, every day, making a crime against humanity, against the Palestinian people. And we are really sad. The reaction of international community is defending, supporting the power of occupation, supporting the criminals against the victim.
Right.
They are supporting the occupied power against the Palestinian civilian people.
Right.
This is not acceptable anyway. This kind of double standards need to be ended. Palestinian, we don't like to make this kind of thing, but I need to do it. Double standard need to end by how you are defend the people of Ukraine when they are under attack, yes, by the Russian. You need to defend Palestinian civilians when they are under attack by Israel.
Right, of course. We were earlier discussing as well about the double standards of when it comes to defending Ukraine, but not talking about Palestine enough. But when we talk about this recent escalation, can you tell us about what international humanitarian law may be applied to this current situation, and how can Palestine negotiate at international community or at multilateral forums like United Nations or UN Security Council as well, because we know that there have not been a consensus on statement, and even Chinese ambassador also said that this is abnormal, that not a consensus on this issue has come so far. So what's your take on all this?
Humanitarian international law, international resolution have the power when it is speak about any place except Palestine. When it is speaking about Palestine, again it is relax, denied, ignore. Our leadership since long time, since few years, warning the international community. Keeping this such of policy will keep our people without hope. When our people without hope, we don't know what's going to be the result of that. Right now, the Israelis people paying the price of the radicalism of their own government, paying the price of the silence of the international community. Their pain not creating by us. They're injured and killed, not created by us. It is created by their own radical government, by their own accept their own self, by accept and support the occupation of other people's territories, other people's land, by the international community when they keep silence of the apartheid Israeli system created in Palestine, when the international community keeps silence of the suffering of the Palestinian people, when the international community keeps silence and blind about the criminal actions, criminal against crimes against the humanity, which is created by the Israelis, the power of occupation against the Palestinian people. This is the price which is the people of Israel are paying right now.
Right.
It is dictated by them and by their leadership, not by the Palestinians. The end of this, very clear, very simple. End the occupation, end the settlements, end the double standards against the Palestinians, activate the international law to be equal for all the nations,
Right.
all the people, including the Palestinians.
Of course.
Activate the international resolution. Activate the human rights principle to become equal for all the nations. It is not created for selected nations like Israelis, American, Ukrainian, or some European countries. It is created for all the human beings. All of us are sons and daughters of Adam and Eve. According to
Of the
that,
same God.
all the humans are equal. There is no elite human being and underground human being. We are only slave for
Right,
Allah.
right.
We only believe of Allah.
Of course.
We're going to complete our battle in all the ways we have by diplomacy, political, as a freedom fighters, and then we are getting our rights by establishing Palestinian state with Jerusalem as its capital, by we getting our refugees since 1948, sorry, we have the right to retain their own properties
Right.
and their homeland. By end the suffering of our people, we have one message of peace, message of stability, not only for the
Of course.
Palestinian, for our region, for all the humanity, for all the nation, for all the world.
Of course, that is the message of peace. Brigadier Sahab, you want to add something in it?
You talked about the international
Ji.
laws. There are very specific laws which has been spelled out by the United Security Council and as well as the Geneva Convention.
Yes.
And what we see the moral and the social authorities in the world, there are certain laws which also
So
restrict
what needs to be done for maybe implementation of those international laws?
Yes.
That was my question, that what needs to be done to maybe wake the international community and look towards actually those international laws that were made by this same international community, but that those laws are not being implemented at this point in time when we talk about Palestine issue.
I think this is the point of concern for all human rights activists, as already I alluded to. And my friend has also very properly brought out that they should be not elite humans and the humans in subjugation. Humans should be free, and their aspiration and their feeling need to be respected. And all international laws, when they are framed in a bona fide context and also as per the aspiration and sentiments of the human dignity and human freedom. But you very properly highlighted that its implementation is missing. What we see, the world has double standard, and in the world I would like to highlight, it is the USA and the European community which has double standard when it comes to the human dignity. And what we see also on the other hand, Muslim Ummah is also a very meekish response which has been given. But there is also a silver lining, that is that Saudi Arabia has also highlighted that with certain mindset, the peace in the region is not going to prevail.
And
And if-
Pakistan also always keeps on
Naturally.
pushing for solution, but how do you see the role of OIC in all this?
I think OIC is still missing. I have not seen any very positive statement coming from the OIC. But what we see is that China and Saudi Arabia and Iran, and top of that Pakistan has shown desire that there should be peace in the region. And peace can only prevail when both sides they realize that negotiation is the only step toward resolution of the issue. And violence is not going to pay to the both sides, either the Hamas or to the Israelis. And my friend has also very highlighted aspect very appropriately that Israelis, they are not actually going to recede to the international laws. They are not going to recede to the moral and social values of that area. They are not going to give a proper and respectful life to the Palestinian. And until the time the Israelis, they don't give a very respectable living acumen and also that space to the Palestinians, there cannot be any solution in that.
Of course. Dr. Hasnain, let's talk about the economic consequences of the current escalation that is happening in the region when we talk about Middle East. What are the economic consequences for both Palestinian territories as well as for Israel?
Say it is going to be the $100 per barrel of the oil, because the whole of all these, I'm not talking about, because it is more than an economic issue. It is more than the UN issue. It is more than the death toll, which climbs at the 687 of the Jabalian refugee, and no food, water, or the power in Gaza. And the Tel Aviv reads to ground assault call up for the 300,000 reserves. So they are in the planning of war, where the UN resolution is very much clear. That they follow. I have the UN resolution, and after that I'll answer your economic answer. So UN resolution clearly says that the following is the list of the United Nations resolution concerning state of Palestine from 1967 to 1989. The UN Security Council adopted 131 resolution directly addressing the Arab-Israel conflict with concerning Palestine. Since 2012, a number of resolutions were issued dealing directly with the modern Palestine.
Hasnain, we will come back to you, but Mr. Nadir, when we talk about this recent escalation of the conflict, how do you see the response of the neighboring Arab countries?
First of all, we appreciate our neighbor Arab countries for the support. The plans of Israel was requesting Gaza people to leave their houses and transfer themselves to Egypt. Egyptians understand this plan because this means that they create new refugees again by transfer this Palestinian people to live in Egypt, because the plans of Israel to damage the Gaza Strip completely. Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, is the Prime Minister, requesting Gaza people same, that you need to leave. To be safe, you need to leave your homes in Gaza to other area. From here, I highlight and request Mr. Netanyahu, open the borders, your borders, because most of Gaza people are refugees, to facilitate and obey 194 resolution with giving them all the right of return to their own villages, which was owned by their fathers and grandfathers before 1948. The only place Gaza people going to transfer to it, leave their homes in Gaza to it, is only their homeland in Palestine, which has become Israel right now. This is the only place our Palestinian people going to leave their homes to it. This is one thing. Second thing, support. My brother here mentioned about OIC. OIC actually was establishing after one of the settlers, Jewish settlers, Zionist settlers, burned fire in Aqsa Masjid, Qibla Awwal in 1969. So the establishing of OIC was only for one reason: defend Aqsa Masjid. As a Palestinian, we do our responsibilities 100%. Our leaders, our people, our freedom fighters, defending Aqsa Masjid. This battle, created by our freedom fighter, was mentioned under a headline, under a name, flood or Aqsa flood, because it is only created because Israelis attacking daily our Qibla Awwal, the Qibla Awwal for all Muslims, not only for the Palestinians. This is the thing, this to defend it, because there is a plan by the Israelis to change Aqsa Masjid from Masjid for Muslim to become a temple for the Jew, only for the Jew. Change the facts on the ground, because they are mentioning since propaganda in the media, and maybe international community going to support them, that this was the temple of Sulaiman before 2,000 years, 3,000 years. Like, according to that, they think they have the right to damage, destroy Aqsa Masjid and build the Jewish temple, the temple of Sulaiman, in that land. The question for Muslim Ummah, we are defending Aqsa Masjid. Please, with all the power, keep the supporters of Israel under pressure to end these plans by supporting your Qibla Awwal, defending your Qibla Awwal.
Of course, Qibla Awwal is sacred for all the Muslims. Dr. Hasnain, when we talk about the recent escalation, looking forward, how do you see a solution of this Israel-Palestine conflict?
The only solution is the resolution at about the resolution 181, recommending the partition of the mandatory Palestine and into Arab and Jewish state and international status for the city of Jerusalem. So I'm not going to give you the long list of the 6 lakh, more than the 6 lakh deaths of the Palestinian. But the real issue is that we must have to acknowledge that there is a need of peace, because the economic situation all over the world is very much difficult. So if there is a war, and there is a war, economy of the war, and there is a few groups wanted to have the economy of war, we must have to tackle down this issue. Otherwise, the $100 per barrel oil will be rising up, and the power structure, the oil structure, the water structure, and the whole of the economy will be shattered completely. So America and the UN and every world must have to think together, and must have to sit together and create the resolution and come up for the arbitration between the Israel and the Palestine issue.
Of
So
course,
it is
because
just
this
not
has
about the Tel Aviv,
implications
it's
and
everything,
consequences
and
for
we
the
are
whole region as well. Right. So, Brigadier Saab, can you briefly tell us what is the way forward when we talk about de-escalation of this recent conflict?
I think we must understand what is the issue first. As he said, it is not only the issue of Palestinian being flushed out by Israeli, it has its religious importance also. And when the UN has itself decided that it should be 2 states in Palestine erstwhile, and with the international status being given to Jerusalem, so that all the religious sentiments of the Muslims, Jews and Christians are taken care of. But what we feel missing is the audacity and sagacity of the world to ensure that it is implemented in Latin spirit. And till the time world is not serious about it and is not concerned about the human catastrophic situation which is in the Middle East presently now and in future also. And the world community like Pakistan has to provide unconditional support to our Palestinian brothers, and I think we should also feel proud that Pakistan has always been there. And like Kashmir, we have already has pushed the world that the human dignity and human freedom should be respected. And I think like Palestine, Kashmir solution should also be in the world eyes, and they should move toward these 2 areas, and they should give people their freedom to for the religious obligation as well as for a decent living.
Of course. Thank you very much, Brigadier Hamid Malik, for joining us in today's program. Thank you very much, Mr. Nadir Turk, for joining us in today's program.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Javed, for joining us in today's program. Of course, in today's program, we talked about the recent Israel-Palestine conflict that has the world watching. And of course, as we have earlier mentioned, that this has seeds in history. The international community needs to push both sides for a just solution, and this requires for a ceasefire, because there are hundreds of civilians that require, of course, medical aid as well as food. So international community needs to play its part. That's all from Game Changer tonight. Take care. Allah Hafiz.